Today, Emily and I are going to take you to the south of Italy, to the Amalfi Coast, to Positano, in fact, where we're going to be trying to build rooms with views, if you will.
Cliffside views.
Yes, cliffside, looking out over the ocean until another player at the table builds in front of you.
No!
Because this is a very peaceful, chill game in terms of how you play it on one hand, but it can be very cutthroat and tense in terms of what you're doing on the cliffside as you build your buildings.
Yes.
You see here in front of you, this is Positano. It should be noted, this is a prototype. Almost all the pieces you're going to see here are changing in one way or another. But this gives you an idea of the game. You've got the cliffside here. You've got the beach board here, which has a number of different tiles that we're going to be drafting. We've got our building blocks in our player colors. Emily is pink. I am yellow. Then we've got our roofs over here. As we build, or when you build, you're going to add a roof to the top of whatever building you build in around. And it's going to be dictated by the build tile here, what kind of roof you can put on it. And those roofs, these are sort of like, they're bronze, silver, and gold, but they're kind of like
cheap, standard, luxury.
Standard and luxury, and that affects the points you're going to score for the buildings that you have with them on it.
Yep.
That can see the ocean.
You can also get points by these gold cards, right, that we can use for each of the games. So we have out here the Equilibrato, Bordeaux, and the Grande, and so they're kind of giving us directions in how we want to build.
Yes, it's kind of like a tile placement game, but very spatial because you're not only building up, which you've seen in other games, but it's also this stair-step staggered thing going on. And there's some rules about how high you can build buildings on each level, although you can break those. But it's all meant to be building out so you're looking out over the ocean to score those points. And down here on the beach board, there are these tiles. Like I said, there's lot tiles, which is this top row. Then there's the block tiles, which are going to be tiles that all of these are tiles you draft.
Yes.
But these are going to give you blocks from the general supply into your own personal supply, because if you don't have any blocks in your personal supply, which can happen at times.
Yes, it can happen.
Or you might not have enough to build
to do what you want,
to maximize your build. But you're going to want to look for ones that have a lot here. And then you've got the build ones down here, which actually show you, okay, the hammer means build, but then the top banner here shows you what kind of roof. And then there's some other ones that let you do yet another thing. Like maybe break that rule, like, oh, you're on the first floor, you can build it 2 high instead of 1. Things like that.
Yep.
So the game is played, it's very simple. Like I said, it's a very chill game in terms of how you play it. So when you play it, you've got cards in your hand. Some of them are bid cards, and then some of them are bid booster cards.
Yes.
This is a bidding game. The interesting thing is the bidding you're going to do with those cards on a round is going to dictate your bids on all 3 of these rows.
So when we put something down, I will bid, and I will put down my bidding card and a bidding booster card. So now I have the original 10, 60, and 50, but added to each of those is the 21. So I actually have 31, 81, 71.
And
I
have 64, 24, and 74.
Oh,
Ooh,
we were
pretty close on that
the last one. Yes.
So yeah, every round people are going to put their cards face down, and then when everyone's ready, they're revealed to reveal the bids. And those numbers are going to dictate what your bids are on these tile rows. You start at the top, so did you win or did I win the top? I won the top, so then I would have my first choice of these tiles, and these lot tiles dictate where you are going to be building this round. So I'm going to build up on 2B.
And so then I have 3B.
And then the second row, you had a set 81.
81.
Well, I did not have 81.
So I'm going to take the one that gives me more blocks. Yours, though, has some gelato on it, which will be points at the end, too.
I only get 2 blocks, but gelato is something that's going to be on the tiles. It's going to be on the cards you play, like this one right here. And at the end of the game, all the cards you played and all the tiles you'd collected, you just add up all the gelato.
Yes.
But I'm going to take that one. And then the last one, I think I won again.
You narrowly won.
Narrowly won by 3.
Oof.
So here's the interesting thing. I could take this and build a gold roof or build a bronze roof, but get 2 gelato points. The thing about the gold roof is that that's going to be significantly more points for each block in that building that can see the ocean. So at the end of the game, the bronze buildings are going to get 1 point per block that can see the ocean.
Yep.
That's always the qualifier. The gold ones are going to get 3.
Quite a bit more.
So With that said, I still think I like the gelato points, so I would take this one.
Oh, I'll be happy to take the luxury roofing. And then we would actually take our blocks. So I'm
Yes.
going to get 3 of my blocks, please.
And I get just 2 of mine.
And then we can build.
Yes, now they suggest that you could build in player order, whoever won the build draft. But if you want to play a friendly game,
Do
which
it.
this feels like a friendly game, but it can be also an unfriendly game because you can build in front of other people. So I'm going to say I'll go first because did I win the bottom one? I did.
You did.
So I'm going to build with my 2 on this 2B spot, and it was with a bronze roof. So I just take a bronze roof tile and put it right there.
Perfect. And since yours is on the 2nd level, you can go up to 2 high, which is great.
Yes.
Mine is on the 3rd level. Works out well for me because I have 3. And I can put them on 3B right after his. So you're actually blocking my 1st level, but I'm okay with that because this is a gold roof. So from my perspective, we can still see my 2nd level and my 3rd level. Each of those will be 3 points at the end of the game if it stays like this.
Right, so this illustrates some of the decisions you'll be making. I took that 2B because I knew it was going to be in front of her 3B, so I knew I'd be blocking at least some of her points. And like she said, though, this is a gold roof situation, so she's got 2 still facing.
Yes.
Now, with that said, there are other build tiles that might do things that allow me to add a block to any existing building, in which case I'm probably always going to choose this one at this point, unless I have another one that might block someone else, to try to eliminate some of her points.
But there is a limit, right? So we have a limited number of blocks,
Yes.
and we can't ever have a building that goes more than 2 higher than its usual spot. So even though he's at 2 right now because of the 2nd level, the most it could ever go up is up to 4.
Right.
And it can't go beyond that. There's going to be nothing like super crazy happening over here.
Yeah, some of the tiles will look like this when you're building. You can see this one lets you take the build action at 1 higher than it would normally be on the level that you happen to be building. And then this is sort of the renovation where you can add 1 to any existing building, again,
At that 1 higher.
breaking that rule. So there's a lot of little things that allow you to get in there and sort of build in front of other people's buildings. You generally want to avoid building in front of your own building unless that bottom building is, say, a gold roof.
Sure.
And the one behind it is a bronze roof, because then you're still losing some points, but
Right.
you're netting positive points.
Or like we talked about, there could be goal cards that are specifically having you want to do specific things. Like this Grande wants us to have the most buildings above regulation height.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm just making all my buildings really tall so that way I get the most points there.
Yeah, it's really interesting. One of the things that you probably can't appreciate is as you play the game, there are going to be times where you take a bunch of building cubes, but maybe your building card doesn't allow you to use all of them. Those cubes stay with you
Yes.
round to round. Now, on the flip side of that, there are going to be times where you take just 2 cubes, and then you have the opportunity to build up to 3 on the level that you're building, or maybe even higher. Maybe you're building up on the 4 level and breaking a rule so you could build up to 5, but you only have 2 cubes.
Yeah. And if your opponents are not as friendly, they might keep bidding just for that middle row. So they keep taking the higher cubes, and you're left with basically very little to use.
Yeah, and speaking of unfriendly neighbors, literally, the hate drafting in this can happen, and particularly as you play the game more and more, you might get to a situation where you have all your cubes.
Yeah.
So you're just like, well, which one do you need? Okay, I will take that one
Yes.
instead.
What's interesting, though, is when we are doing this bidding, again, it's for all 3 of them at once. So the cards are laid out where each of them goes 10 through 70, but they're kind of balanced. So that way you're never like doing really well on all of them.
Right.
You're going to kind of try to have to say like, then this time I wanted to do really well in the middle, and then with secondly the bottom. Whereas David, you really chose the bottom being the main thing that you were trying to go for in this one.
Yeah, I think we both have one card that's like 40, 40, 40, but then it can kind of vary where it's higher on the top, lower on the bottom, higher on the bottom, lower on the top, that sort of thing. And the middle one kind of really fluctuates.
Yeah, and the boosters are not just tiebreakers, right? Like it goes from like 5 to 22.
Yeah, the boosters are kind of crazy.
Yes.
So you could use one of those kind of weirder, weaker cards with the plus 22 or 23
And make them all
and
higher.
make that low number
Exactly.
pretty high.
Yep.
So once the round is over, you're going to take the cards that you played, set them aside, take the tiles that you had taken and used, set those aside. You're going to want to keep those in sort of a personal discard area because, like I said, you're going to want to look through those at the end to see how much gelato you had collected. Then you're going to refill the display based on player count. At 2 players, each one of these is going to get 2. And you're going to keep doing this round after round, building and making a really beautiful, it has an incredible table presence.
Yes, yeah.
You can't see this from the front camera. You're kind of seeing the back of the cliff, but rest assured, I'll put some pictures in here so you can see it. But you're going to do this until all of the lot tiles are gone, and that is the end of the game.
Yep.
When you'll go to final scoring. And like we said, in final scoring, you're going to kind of look at the cliff and see which of your buildings has a little window, effectively, that is actually got a view out to the ocean, and get points accordingly. So my little bronze building in this case has 2 windows. It's just 1 point each because that's the lowest rung. This top one has 2 windows as well, but I'm blocking the bottom one.
Yeah.
That's 3 though, and that's a 6-point building.
Yay, let's stop right now.
On top of that, like Emily said, then we're going to score these cards. There's a number of different cards in the game. These just happen to be 3 of them. Some of them are having the most of something. Some of, like this one says, have at least 1 of each quality of building. So you want to sort of diversify the type of buildings. That's not something I did in our game.
I did it though.
You did it. But there's going to be a number of different scoring cards. You add up all your points and the high score wins. So that is Positano. This is a very sort of, like we said at the top, very light, chill game to play. But you'll find out very quickly that it is like a little bit cutthroat.
It has cutthroat moments for sure.
It has cutthroat moments when you're going after these things, not only just from the bidding standpoint, any bidding game is going to feel that way, but boy, when you're building buildings and you see someone take a tile and you know that tile's in front of one of your buildings
you're
that you've
like,
already
you
added.
better not.
And then you're like, oh no, they're taking 5 cubes too. Oh, they're building some really tall thing by breaking rules. You might lose a lot of points while at the same time they're getting a lot of points, but one good turn deserves another, so you can kind of go back and forth like that. If you have any questions about the game at all, please make them in the comments below, though. We'll be happy to get down there and answer whatever we can. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.